Welcome into the DFS Den. It's Dave Eddy here, aka Corporal Eddy on Twitter, here for another divisional round DFS Showdown matchup. We got the Bengals and Bills here. Don't have to tell you what happened the last time these two teams met up to play a football game. Monday Night Football, the whole Damar Hamlin unfortunate situation. So there's definitely some intrigue in this game for a lot of reasons. Not just because of the divisional round, but thankfully Damar Hamlin is doing well. Really hope he's at the game because I think that would be an incredible experience. But on to the business at hand here. We're talking about showdowns. So showdowns are not the same as, the typical lineups that you probably know my videos for, but I've been breaking down each one of these matchups here in the playoffs. So for showdowns, you've got a captain spot. And in that captain spot, that player is going to be 1.5 times the cost of what they'd be in the flex, but they also score 1.5 times the points. So makes it for, interesting, strategy situation. And then you got 5 flex spots that you fill as well. So, for me, showdowns come down to a lot of correlation and a lot of game script, game theory. So usually first thing that I suggest is you need to think about what kind of game do you think we're going to have and, build your lineups around that. In this particular matchup, I could see something along the lines of, 31-24 game. I'm leaning on the Bills side of things, but I could see it going either way. Both of these teams are very hot right now. Both these teams have offenses that, once they get going, they can be absolutely unstoppable. But their defenses also aren't too shabby. So, you could see a lower scoring game, but that's not what I think we get. I think we're looking at, like I said, 31-24 type game. And so, you're looking for your skill positions, not focusing so much on defense, not focusing so much on, kickers, but we're looking at skill positions. So let's go ahead and start breaking this down here. We'll start off with the captains. And my number one exposure here is going to be Josh Allen. I mean, the guy is just too good. He can do it with the arm. He can do it with his legs. And that's just gold for showdown. He doesn't have to do one or the other. And he can score, be accountable for every single touchdown as well. So he's a guy that, when I'm looking at the captain spot, I'm not going to force 2 pass catchers with him like I would a traditional pocket passer. I'm looking to just force one guy with him because he can get so much done on the ground and especially, touchdowns on the ground. And then Joe Burrow is the opposite of that, right? Joe Burrow, not really so mobile, definitely not in the Josh Allen category. I mean, he can move, but he's not Josh Allen. So he's more of a traditional pocket passer to me. So when I'm playing him in the captain spot, I'm going to go ahead and put 2 pass catchers with him. If he's going to have a big enough game that, he's going to be optimal as a captain, he's definitely bringing along one guy with him, more than likely 2. And they've got a pretty condensed target share. So the guys that you're going to bring along with them are going to be relatively obvious. I've also got some interest in Joe Mixon for captain, Dawson Knox, Khalil Shakir, assuming that McKenzie's out, and obviously Stephon Diggs. But again, most of my exposure here is going with Allen. When I'm doing one of the pass catchers like Knox or Shakir or Diggs, I am going to go ahead and put Josh Allen in the flex. Again, if they're going to have a big enough game that they're optimal in the captain spot, then the quarterback is going to, be right along there with them. So that's what I'm looking at there. Let's talk about captain specifically, quarterback specifically. These are 2 of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. Probably going to have 90% or higher exposure to Josh Allen between the captain and between the flex. Joe Burrow, again, a little bit harder to play him because I really like Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase is expensive. And, I think I'm just going to have too much exposure to, Josh Allen, especially in the captain spot, which is going to make it really hard to slip Joe Burrow in there as well. Going to be hard to play both quarterbacks, in the same lineup on this slate. Of course, being that I'm going to have like 90% of Josh Allen, I'm going to have a couple of them, where they're both together in some fashion. But this is going to be a situation where I'm going to set a rule that I have to have 1 quarterback per lineup, which, be it captain or flex, a minimum of 1. It's going to probably naturally happen on its own anyways. But being I think this game's going to, be 55 points or so, definitely want to make sure that happens. When I am playing when I am playing Allen, even in the flex spot, want to just make sure and pair him with one pass catcher. Again, he's going to do so much on the ground. I don't feel the need to force him with two, but if you did, I would understand. And then Joe Burrow, same thing as in the captain spot. When I play him, I'm going to force two pass catchers. Again, another reason why I'm going to have less Joe Burrow than I'm going to have Allen, because Allen, I'm only forcing one pass catcher. With Burrow, I need two, and they're not really cheap. So kind of naturally is going to work out that way for me. And it goes along with my game script anyways. So I think that that's the way that it makes the most sense. Running backs are going to be a little interesting here. I do like the running backs here maybe a little more than you would expect in a high scoring game. I think Joe Mixon is very much in play here. Joe Mixon has an extremely high ceiling, but even though he does get good volume, he can tend to get those games where he's under 10 points more often than what you'd like. But he's only 8,800, so all things considered, I think he's a pretty decent price, and he's a guy I'm probably going to be in the 40% or so neighborhood on between captain and between flex. And then James Cook and Devin Singletary, I'm only going to play one per lineup. I'm not going to put them both together in the same lineup. In this particular kind of game, I don't think that makes sense. I don't see them both being optimal. But between the two of them, I'm going to have more Cook exposure. He's only $4,600, where Devin Singletary is $7,000. Now, this is the kind of game where Devin Singletary does tend to do better, a game that is going to be close. But I think that James Cook has really been coming on a lot lately. It's been hard to get, even 5 points out of Devin Singletary a lot lately. 3 of the last 5 games he's had under 5 points. So at that cost, I'll have him in the player pool, probably have, 5-10% of him, but that's about it. James Cook, I think, has a much higher ceiling. He's had at least double-digit points in 2 of the last 4 games, had at least 7 points in each of the last 4. And at that $4,600 price tag, I'm interested. So, somewhere around 40% probably exposure for him for me in the flex spot. Then we get to wide receivers. Definitely some elite receivers here. Jamar Chase, Stephon Diggs. They're going to lead my exposure. Probably going to be, 50, 60%, between captain and flex for them. They both could just absolutely murder this slate and be optimal in either captain or flex. If McKenzie is out, I've got some interest in Shakir. Not that I think he's going to necessarily, do anything crazy, but last week against Miami, 3 catches for 51 yards, good for 8 points at only $1,200. That's very interesting. Even if McKenzie plays, I might have some exposure to Shakir. It's not going to be the 40, 50% that I'm going to have without him. But he's interesting. Gabe Davis, dude just shows up in the playoffs. He's not expensive, but he's also not cheap, $6,400. I think that's a pretty good tag for him. I'm looking probably, 20, 30% exposure there. And if I am going to have him in my lineup, I'm going to make sure that Josh Allen is either the captain or the flex, because when Gabe Davis has big games, he has big games. And that's going to bring Allen along with him. So not going to be playing Gabe Davis without Allen, because he's either boom or bust. And so if he's optimal, it's because he's had a boom game. And then T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, going to have a little bit of exposure there. Probably going to be, 20, 25% or less, but going to be exposed. And then again, if McKenzie's out, I have some interest in Cole Beasley. He's only 1,800 last week. 2 catches, 35 yards, and of course the touchdown. Touchdown makes all the difference in the world. If McKenzie's out, I have some interest in Cole Beasley. Let's talk about tight ends here. Dawson Knox is typically a guy that I like. He scores lots of touchdowns. As a matter of fact, he's got a touchdown here in 5 straight games. And so that's been giving him double-digit points every week. I don't know if he's going to score one here or not, but if you think he does, then he's absolutely very much in play. You could even put him in the captain spot if you think he's scoring a touchdown. Either way, going to be fairly highly exposed to him. Only 5,200, so not cheap, but not crazy expensive either. Kind of where you find a lot of guys here in this matchup. So, 50, 60% exposure between captain and flex for me. Most exposure is going to be in the flex, but definitely interested there. Hayden Hurst, he can be interesting as well. Not exactly sure how healthy he is right now, but he's played the last 2 games. He's gotten 4 catches in each, total of 11 targets between the two. Hasn't done a whole ton with it, but at 5,000, a little bit pricey, but get you different, get you exposure to the Bengals, because you want to play a guy like Chase, you're paying a lot, and even T Higgins is not cheap. He's 7,800, so you can get exposure to that offense through Hayden Hurst and be a little bit more unique. Kickers, I think kickers are typically undervalued here in showdowns. Not uncommon for them to get double digits, and they're usually somewhere in the 4,000 to 4,500 price range. So you can definitely do okay with kickers. Almost never are they going to be in the captain spot, but in the flex, save you some money, get you more points than you expect. Just because I expect the Bills to win this game and to score a few more points, I have more interest in Tyler Bass than I do Evan McPherson. As much as I love McPherson, he hasn't gotten double-digit points in the last 5 games, and he hasn't had a 50-yard field goal since week 11. And that's really where you make your money in showdowns, is with kickers and long field goals, or with a high volume. So game's going to be high scoring, so not like crazy interested in kickers, because I think we see more touchdowns than field goals with these offenses. But kickers are certainly in play because you will need to save some salary here or there. I'm going to max it to 1 kicker in each lineup. Don't say I'm going to have a kicker per lineup, but when I do, it'll be a maximum of 1. And then the defenses here, I think both these teams have solid defenses. You may not see it on the field because these offenses are both going to be so good. But, I do have some interest in the Bills here. Again, probably because I think that they're going to win. Not super into the Bills, but, at $3,800, I can see a path. The Bengals, they're known to give up a lot of sacks. So that's where you're going to be seeing a lot of points is via sack. If they end up getting a touchdown, be a pick 6 or a fumble, all of a sudden they are going to be a great play, but hard to rely on those touchdowns, obviously. Then the Bengals defense, it's not a ton of interest there, just because Josh Allen is just next level. And while I really like the Bengals defense, I really like the $3,200 price tag, I just probably shy away just because of the way I feel like the game's going to go as far as number of points being scored. Fact that it's hard to sack Josh Allen. Bengals don't get a lot of sacks. Yes, Josh Allen is turnover prone as far as, interceptions, but unless they're returning one for a touchdown, I don't see them being optimal. So just going to shy away. But hey, hope you enjoyed the video. Drop a like on this if you have. Lets me know that you're appreciating what I'm doing, putting a lot of time and effort into breaking down each matchup for you. If you're not subscribed yet, pop on over here, do yourself a favor, and turn on those notifications so you get an alert every time a new video comes out. I hope you enjoy the game. I hope you win a bunch of money this weekend, and I look forward to seeing you next time.